here's an interview with FDS, and then it's all about Dingo.
Oh man.
You're like, no, don't do that, please.
We've covered a lot of different topics,
Yes.
and there's definitely a lot more out there to be covered.
Oh yeah.
But I figured between random streams and Discord conversation, people don't really pick up anything extra about FDS or you as a gamer person. I mean, the podcast has probably had the most deep dive we've had so far into who is Nate.
Yes. Well, but I do want to be clear though, because I don't want it to sound like I was the one that came up with this idea. Dingo came up with this idea, and I just didn't want it to sound like oh, let's do an interview of me, because everybody wants to know that. It's like, no, absolutely not. Dingo came up with this, and I couldn't think of anything better. So we'll do the same for you someday.
maybe someday.
Yeah.
If yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. It'd be one thing if I can start streaming again if I get my PC back.
If you ever get the PC back, well, it'll happen. It'll happen. I have
and
faith.
for a little context on that, my PC died back when Starfield launched, and I'm still waiting for it to get repaired. So I'm running off of a little microcomputer that's about the size of a slice of bread, which is why my gameplay might be glitchy sometimes, because I think the camera is smarter than the computer.
Yeah.
Someone in our Discord mentioned like that looks like they're the computer for like a punch in time clock, and it's like I'm surprised it could handle that, to be honest.
Well, hey, it's been a trooper so far. It's handled more of these streams than your other computer did, so.
Wow, that's true. I mean, there was a few where if people noticed my audio was a little weird, which was me using a old headset through my phone Discord.
Yeah.
That was the arena days there for a bit.
Yeah, when we were doing arena.
Which, enough about me for now. To start with, I think the very basic question, and it's out there, people can read your About Me stuff, or if they ever watched your ever changing names on what was previously known as Twitter. What does FDS stand for?
Well, FDS originally stood, and still to this day kind of does, it stands for Fat Dad Scoops. That comes from my brother-in-law and I. We always used to joke around about how we should start a YouTube channel called Fat Dad's Guide to Everything. And, because both he and I are fathers of a portly variety. We both are big dudes. And so we just thought it would be a funny thing to have a YouTube channel like that. Well, we never got around to it. When I started working in content with some other folks and we created the Creativity in Progress Network, I wanted to do a show just about magic. And I decided I should do something with that. And I liked the name Fat Dad. And so I thought it would be funny to do Fat Dad Scoops, because of scooping, meaning you quit and you walk away, that kind of thing. I just liked it. So I went with it. And I'll admit, and Dingo, you've had to deal with my waffling on this. I have waffled back and forth on whether or not I should change it. For a while now. I think I'm currently in a phase of no, I'm going to keep it. For a little while, I would change it to something like Fibblethith does the Samba or whatever, or Falcon Wraith dinner special, that sort of thing. That was my favorite alternative, though. Falcon Wrath dinner special was my favorite alternate meaning. Yeah, I've always waffled back and forth just because I know that there's some negative connotations. In fact, I tried to, when I first started the channel, I tried setting up a TCG player account, because I was thinking maybe I could set up a TCG player account that I can use and then use the channel to push that and everything. And they wouldn't accept it. They wouldn't accept Fat Dad Scoops. They said it was too derogatory and I had to change it. And I was like,
it's about literally yourself.
Exactly. But and that actually is what gave me the idea to call the channel FDS MTG, because then I could have it still, I could kind of, no pun intended, have my cake and eat it too, of having it be FDS, but it means Fat Dad Scoops. So yeah, so that's basically the long and the short of its evolution.
And the funny thing, so from my perspective, right, FDS is a nice little acronym. It's like, okay, well, what is it? Like, does it mean something? And it's so hard to come with other appropriate ones that are still like magic related, but not super like long or
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
And then the other part to it too is even with this podcast, I'm also a father and I am not of a healthy weight. So it works for me too.
Well, I can tell you are a much healthier weight than me.
You've literally seen me once.
Fair, but your voice, you vocally sound very thin. You sound very thin and attractive. So I'm going with that.
No, and like I don't know. We'll have to see what goes with it. I personally like the brand. I like the branding you've done, and I don't think it's weird because you're in that early position where you could change it and have not so much of a side effect, but you also do have brand already.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, like part of the reason why I've considered trying to change the brand is I look at the Good Luck High Five folks. So Good Luck High Five, which is a YouTube channel and a podcast. They are Maria Bartoldi and Megan Wolf. They started the podcast as Magic the Amateuring, and it started doing really well. And actually, it was pretty popular when they decided to rebrand because they realized that they couldn't really get away with calling themselves Magic the Amateuring, and they couldn't call themselves amateurs when, like, Maria literally is one of the hosts of like the Pro Tour, but she's sitting there at the desk at a Pro Tour and she's in a podcast called Magic the Amateuring. So they know that the branding didn't quite work. So they decided to change it to Good Luck High Five because Megan adorably thought that, the GLHF meant Good Luck High Five. They didn't know that it meant Good Luck Have Fun. So they decided to just name it that, and that's what it's been. And so that's part of the reason why I've considered rebranding, but
The interesting thing is like rebranding does go both ways, right? Because there's a YouTube channel out there I've seen before and they're nerdy and viewers hopefully knew who they are, but Door Monster. They do different skits and they've had the professor and their stuff before too. They did rebrand years ago to like White Lightning something, and then now they're Door Monster again, right? So there was some stuff that happened there where people do try it, go back. You run into the problem where people will know you as something specific, right? And even then, like I'm trying to be consistent with my username here. I use DMDingo for this, and then like all the other stuff, like my Twitch is DMDingo, and that's not the first username I've ever come up with, right? But that's the one that's like the easiest and the nicest little one. And no, I'm not Australian. I'm not, dingoes like that. But it's one I like, and it's based off of a username that I came up with because of my dog, right? But it's funny how people always assume it's Dungeon Master.
Oh yeah. And I'll be honest, I thought that was the case too when we first started chatting.
But I will leave that a mystery to people for now. You can guess if you want in the comments. But this isn't about me today. So
it's funny. Yeah, I keep trying to shift it back. I'm like, no, I'm not important. Let's talk about you. Okay.
Yeah, no. So like you mentioned about CIP there a little bit, and I've asked you about that because like especially when you and I started with this podcast, it's like, what is CIP? Like you say this thing. I looked into it, and it's like it's just you right now.
Okay, so CIP is it's a long and sordid tale. No, actually, it's about this. This is actually my entrance into podcasting and content creation, I should say, the bigger content creation. In the middle of 2018, my buddy Ethan Murphy, if you ever want to check out an awesome take on zombie comics, go and find his Slate Nash comic book that he self-published. He went out there by himself, found artists, and got a 6-book series made on his own, entirely on his own with his own money. He's been schlepping it around to comic conventions for years now. Highly recommend it. He also does a podcast called the Then and Now podcast with a buddy of his. We had met doing improv years ago, and randomly in 2018, he sent me a text that said, "Hey, would you want to do a podcast?" And I was kind of at a point in my life where I was, I was kind of bored. Not a lot was going on. I hated my job, kind of depressed. I had been wanting to get into content creation for a while, but I hadn't really, nothing had really pushed me over the thing. But for some reason, this was the starting gun for me. And I went, yes, I do. And And then I immediately became an annoying thorn in his side. And God love him, he put up with me for years. He probably put up with me longer than anybody else would have, because it was off to the races. I immediately started researching how to put up a podcast. I had already done some podcasts earlier that kind of failed, or I gave up on, I should say. So I already kind of knew a little bit. So I just started pushing on it. And our friend Mick was also involved, but Mick didn't want to be on the mic. He wanted to be behind the scenes because he's that guy. He's the guy to figure stuff out. He's not the guy that wants to be out in front of everybody. But we were sitting around trying to think of a name for the podcast, and I came up with, I think Ethan and I came up with some of it, like something in progress. And Mick said, well, what about creativity in progress? And I went, oh, that's great. So we started Creativity in Progress. It was a generic nerd podcast where Ethan and I would just sit there and talk about nerd stuff. And we brought on a third person, Ari, who she was wonderful. And the three of us, we were just having a great time. But I think we were starting to get bored, and something else happened. Ethan moved out to California. And basically, I had to figure out, how are we going to do this remotely? And so we started doing it remotely, all three of us. We decided, why don't we change the format? And we changed the format, and we thought it was a good idea, and it ended up not being. I thought it was great, but the podcast tanked. Like it just went.
I know this led into you keeping that name, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the part where I was wondering, where you're talking about this, is when did you do your first video for FDS?
Well, this was actually soon after we changed I shouldn't say soon after. We did the change of the format for a year, and then we realized this isn't working. And during this time, I had created the network. I had like 4 or 5, or well, not 4 or 5. I'd probably say about 2 or 3 other podcasts that were stuff that we were doing. We actually had some folks outside of it who were doing stuff, but it all kind of started to lose steam about a year after we had changed formats. This was probably about 2021. Middle of 2021, I think, around April. It was around that time that we decided, let's take a break with Creativity in Progress, the podcast, because really, of all the shows that we were doing, it was the only one that was not getting any views, not getting any listens. And so I decided, with the extra time I had, I decided, you know what? I really want to do a magic show, and not like, bunny out of a hat. Like
I was thinking that too.
Yeah. I didn't want to be like, is this your card? Though I will say, I have toyed with the idea of doing magic tricks with magic cards. That has been an idea of mine for a long time. I do some sleight of hand stuff. I'm very bad at it, but I've always toyed with doing that. Is this your planes? Anyway, I decided I wanted to do a Magic the Gathering show, and I didn't know what I want to do. In fact, for this podcast, I should pull out, because I just found last week some of my super early recordings. Like, you want to talk about super early? I still had hair in these recordings. I had a full head of hair. Well, not a full head. It was thinning, but
I was going to say, like, I'm balding here too. Like, I assume you shave yours then, because you say, like, you didn't go that bald that quick, right?
Oh yeah, no. What happened was, for my entire life until I was 37, I had a thick head of hair. I loved it, and I did try to grow it out once, and because I thought it would be like this long flowing Fabio mane. No, it was Einstein. It grew up. And then starting around when I hit 37, it started to, my hairline started to recede. I started getting a little cap on the top, and I did not like the way I looked with it. I just didn't. And one day I just said to my wife, I think I'm going to shave it. Are you going to be okay with that? And she was like, I'm totally fine. Sure, head. I don't care. And I shaved it, and I was like, I think I look great. So, and it's frankly been the best decision I've made when it comes to my hair, I think, my entire life. But yeah, so I have early recordings. I might pull one up. I don't know. Maybe I'll put it out. You know what? I might do it as a Patreon thing. I might send it to the Patrons.
So me and a few others.
Yeah. So you and a few others get to see what I look like. And then anybody who wants to sign on, I'll put, you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I am not above embarrassing myself. Anyway, to get off my head and into my head. Basically, where was I? I was talking about, oh yeah, finding the old stuff. So I decided I wasn't sure what I was going to do. So I tried some videos. I think I recorded like 5 or 6 videos before I actually put one that I felt good enough to make public. All of the other previous ones were almost like a pleasant Kenobi, but not angry, you know, where I would just sit there and talk at the camera about the what's going on in Magic and my take on it. But I wasn't nearly as, you know, inflammatory or sweary or angry as he is. And for those of you who are not aware, if you see Pleasant Kenobi on YouTube, he's a content creator from the UK, and he does topical videos. He talks about what's topical in the Magic space. And he puts it his opinions. It's essentially just a talking head video, and they're really good. They are good, but he's very angry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, he's honestly, he could be angrier. I will say he does a good job of actually talking about the points.
Yeah.
While he is entitled to his own opinions, and you don't have to believe in them, but it's at least entertaining to listen to, and like he does a good job just all around.
Anyway, so I put up, I think,
I know I started watching you when you weren't too deep.
Yeah, and I think you were one of my earlier subs and supporters.
I was somewhere around the 100 mark, because I remember you going from 100 to 1,000 pretty well.
Yeah, that was the how not to teach Magic the Gathering video. That video, like, it was weird. Like I started posting in May 1st was the official first post of my channel. Right after that, I did a short. I tried a short real quick, and then I did do some talking head videos. They didn't do very well at all. But then I did my first video in my current-ish style, was how to build a Jumpstart battle box, and then I led right into how to organize your collection. I did a couple more talking head ones. Then I started doing my reviews. Then I started doing my reviews in June. So from that point until September, I crawled up to 100. And then in September, I posted a video reviewing the Cards Layer 400 Plus from GameGenic, and I didn't review it very well. It was essentially, I don't really like it, but if you do, it's well made. Go ahead, run with it. Well, a month later, because right after that there was that video, and then the next video was my how not to teach someone to play Magic, and both of those did what every other video was doing. But then a month later, the professor posted his review on the Cards Layer 400 Plus. And interestingly, it was, I think, his first review video ever up to that point that only reviewed one product. If you're familiar with the professor, you know every time he does a review, he reviews like 4 or 5 products at least. This video, he only reviewed one, which was weird. But because up to that point, I was the only other person who had put out a quote-unquote quality review video, everybody who watched his video saw my stupid face right next to him on the "you might like this" thing.
Well, I mean, to be fair, like, if there's a decent quality review and you're like actually looking at it, like, why wouldn't you watch more than one person talk about it?
Very, very fair. And the interesting thing was, the professor really liked it. Like, he really liked the 400 Plus, and I didn't, because, and also the title of the video is "I Have Regrets." Okay. So people clicked on it, and it got 15,000 views. Now that's up till today. I can't remember. It probably got about 10,000. In fact, to this day, it's my most controversial video. I have so many dislikes on that one, but I still have more likes. So there's that. Starting in early November of 2020, I think 2021. This was early November 2021. The how not to teach someone how to play Magic the Gathering took off. Like, it's sitting at 84,000 views right now. And it got like 40,000 views in that month. But the how not to teach someone to play Magic the Gathering got me over 1,000. Like it just rocketed me over 1,000 in a week. But then it did the thing that I was terrified it was going to do, and it came floating back down, and it dropped down to a little bit higher than it was before. And I was like, shit. So close.
You've had the ability to do, I wouldn't say collabs, as we're literally in one.
Yes.
But no, because I know you do this stuff for like MTech Cave, right?
Yeah.
You've gotten some products from GameGenic, and I did Ultimate Guard send you stuff too?
Yep. In fact, I just did this past weekend. I did their content creator charity cup as well, which was a lot of fun. Got completely destroyed, but I expected that.
Have you had other companies approach you for stuff like that before? I mean, because like to me, you're in that weird spot where you're not a small channel, but you're not a big channel.
Yeah. I'm in the awkward adolescent phase, and I'm hoping that I continue to grow. Like obviously everybody on YouTube hopes that they continue to grow, but I am happy with what I've done because I know that I'm already in the 99% of YouTubers. Like 99% of YouTubers do not get as far as I've gotten, and that's an accomplishment in my opinion.
It's interesting because like I know there's some similar statistics for like Twitch as well, where like most people don't even get to affiliate.
Yeah.
Like getting to that benchmark and getting like 100 like followers is pretty big, even as small as that is. And it's crazy to think about because like all the people who just start try and do like before I have a YouTube channel, but I put music and game clips on there from like back in the day, right? Nothing this intentful and thoughtful and good. But I mean, for context for people listening, like I'm here as more of supporting friend Magic player, and like Nate hasn't been pinging me with ideas this entire time, right? I just happen to be more active with a lot of stuff and harassing him in a lot of places. But no, I mean like even the relationship there, because like you knew I've streamed before. I have the setup to do this kind of stuff and talking about things and whatever it be, right? But the fact is like it's still your channel, right? Like I'm just here to help you with this stuff, so you're not just talking to the screen the entire time.
Well, but I do hope that you like I hope that you enjoy this for many reasons, but I do hope that you enjoy, getting on here chatting with me about Magic, and recording it and putting it out there. And I do appreciate the support that, even if you just do this just because you want to see me make more content, and I appreciate that. But I do hope that you enjoy it just for on its face.
Well, the thing I kind of want to get there though is like, well, I feel like a part of the channel. I'm not really. I'm more of like a friend of the channel. Is really how I see it right now. Because like this is our little nugget. You do talk to me on the side about stuff, and like we do have a friendship there. But like you're the one that does all the editing. we could delve into a little bit if you wanted of some of the other relationships you've had that aren't anymore as well.
I know what you're hinting at. My lawyer has advised me to use the term allegedly a lot, which is a joke you'll hear later if you listen to the FDS news. There was a relationship that was a part of FDS for a bit, and it was the Monarch Media community ambassador. I was a community ambassador for a bit. I was contacted by the owner of Monarch Media back in May of this year, 2023, and Mark Anthony Salchi said that he liked my new show. He had seen my new show and he liked it, and he wanted me to produce a similar show for his channel, Monarch Media, which does competitive EDH tournaments. And in return, they would do editing for all of my content.
The big thing, like just as a viewer seeing it as well, like as much as I appreciate seeing your face more on the internet, it was a little off-brand for you as well, because like you don't see EDH.
Many terms can be used for me in the Magic space. Competitive is not one of them, and I recognize that a little bit. And I tried to make that clear. I was in a space that I was typically more of a casual player, but I decided to try it out, and I ended up not really using the editing service all that much, I decided I would just continue to do editing for my own stuff. But I did produce the meta for Monarch Media, which was essentially a news show that just focused on competitive EDH. Well, I won't get into details, but due to reasons, the partnership stopped being mutually beneficial about a month or so ago, probably longer than that, but to be fair to everyone involved, I'll say about a month ago. So I decided that it was probably a good idea to end the relationship. And so on October 21st of this year, I kind of cut ties with Monarch in a, I hope to be a professional manner. And that was it. And I was unaware of what was happening. And for those of you listening, and that is not, that you may not be up to speed on competitive EDH news, but there was a thing about judge compensation and free playmats for ticket holders. And there's a whole lot of accusations going on and alleged, this person allegedly did this and all that between Monarch Media and Mythic Lotus Gaming and all of that. I was not a part of any of that. I didn't, in fact, I basically ended the relationship before I even knew any of that was going on. And it came to light this past weekend, and it's been a whole thing. So that was a lesson. Yeah.
I'm hoping our relationship doesn't work like that. I'm not using you just for your editing capabilities.
I do not think. I do not think at all.
No, I mean, it's a little sad, right? Because it's the unfortunately the nature of doing business in general, right? That not everything's gonna always work out, right?
Yeah.
I know for the longest time you're kind of having a heartburn, like you're like, I need to break up with her, but I don't want to hurt her heart.
Yeah, exactly.
It's never an easy decision to step away from something you've put actual time and effort into as well, right?
Oh yeah.
Enough of that. I think if people want more info, they should tune into the news.
Exactly. Yeah, because I'm like towing because this situation that's happening is like I wouldn't be surprised if we're getting close to people are going to start lawyering up, and I wasn't involved, so I don't want to have to be one of those people. So I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
Please don't involve.
Yes, exactly. And that about does it for today's discussion on Beyond the Deck Box, where we talk about all things Magic the Gathering. You can find us each week on the YouTube channel FDS MTG, or you can find us anywhere you get your podcasts. Just look for Beyond the Deck Box. You can find DMDingo on Twitch, or you can find him on the FDS MTG Discord, link in the description. You can find me, FDS MTG, on YouTube, or at FDS_MTG on Threads, or on Mastodon, kind.social. Thank you so much for tuning in, and you all have a wonderful day.